All right. Good morning or good afternoon now, I guess, now that it's officially noon. Welcome. My name is Alana Jordan. I am the Development and Membership Director for Together SC. And today we are pleased to have you here with us to talk about DO. The State Education and Workforce Development Act, or the Workforce Development Act, recently became law due to an overwhelming support by the House, State, and Governor McMaster. This law brings new responsibilities to the SC Department of Employment and Workforce, otherwise known as DO, including the transition of the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development and the Regional Workforce Advisors from the SC Department of Commerce to DO. This unified plan will bring long-lasting positive changes to state education and workforce development. As part of this unified plan, the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development will create new tools and resources for businesses, students, educators, parents, and others that make workforce services more available. So today we are pleased to have the SC Department of Employment and Workforce Executive Director, William Floyd, and Charles Appleby, Senior Advisor to the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development, to talk about these new responsibilities and the work of the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development. So William is joining us. He's been on a rural road trip this week, and right now he's in Somerton, SC, so he's going to do a welcome and introduction. William, will you please take over for a few moments?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And thank you all for participating in this Teams event or Zoom event. It's a privilege to be here with you all. Again, my name is William Floyd. I'm the Director of the Department of Employment and Workforce. And what we do every day is workforce development. We're connecting job seekers with employers and employers with job seekers. And an important partner in that process are nonprofits and our other community partners. Today, we're living that. I'm in what we call the SC Works Coach, or DEW, DEW Coach is how I often call it. This is a mobile employment services center that we deploy all over the state all the time because it has wheels. It's the size of an RV, a nice size RV. There's our communications director, Dorothy Weaver. And there, Joe. Joe makes this place happen, and always he connects with all kinds of folks in all kinds of places. Sometimes it's a plant shutdown, and sometimes it's a community event like today. And we utilize this center, which has connectivity for multiple computers, and it has Wi-Fi capability to bridge the gap. Because as you all know, oftentimes our rural communities have to overcome barriers or obstacles to employment. This is one of the vehicles that helps do that in a real sense of connecting those who don't have a computer, connecting those who don't have Wi-Fi to actual work opportunities. So it's a privilege to be here today. So we're in Somerton this morning. Right behind me, if you could look through the little portal, you would see that we're at the Scott Branch Middle School. And in that facility, and they've just transitioned, they're going over to Manning right now. In that facility, we had employers, we had government agencies, we had nonprofits, and we had other community partners all coming together to engage with job seekers to see how they can help get them a job and get them to the job, for example. So it's really neat to see this partnership happening right behind me as I'm talking to you all about it. At the Department of Employment and Workforce, as I mentioned, we're always engaged in workforce development opportunities and things that help the workforce as well. And one example of a connection with a nonprofit, we're living in real time. So there's a nonprofit organization based in Columbia that focuses on computer coders, or developing new coders that are needed for that particular industry. And that effort has been going on for a little while, but we're benefiting from it at DO. So this nonprofit will take people who may not have ever gone to technical school, may not even have graduated from high school, but have the proclivity and the abilities to do coding. And they are, through this nonprofit, they receive resources that help them develop that ability to train virtually and then to get connected up with internships or apprenticeships um, that provide real-time ability to exercise what they've been learning all that time in a real environment. Well, um, part of that portal includes education, part of it includes WIOA, part of it includes other kinds of nonprofits. In, in a real sense, two of our members and new employees at Duke came through that very program, and they joined part of our IT system that is creating for, data warehouses. And the two new employees we have are doing a phenomenal job. And it's kind of full circle showing how this workforce pipeline includes all different kinds of aspects of that circle that I just drew. One of the things that the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development does and is provide oversight for the Office of Statewide Workforce Development, which is a fledgling office right now. It was just created as of July, but you're going to have the mover and shaker as your next speaker, Charles Appleby. And what Charles and his team is, he's really fortunate. He's kind of like leading the all-star team. I was never very good in baseball, but there were other friends of mine who were on my team. Those athletes who were really good would be selected to an all-star team comprised of members from all these other teams. Well, that's kind of like Charles. He's the coach of the all-star team of workforce development that was formed by this coordinating council, formed by Act 67 and supervised by the coordinating council for workforce development. And Charles's all-star team is comprised of stars from Department of Commerce, from the Department of Education, from many other partners, state agency partners and others that are coming together, that are work together right now. Their current big, and it's very big, objective is to develop a unified state plan. So you're going to hear a lot more about unified state plan through Charles, as well as some of the other really neat projects. These projects are not going to happen overnight. They're not going to be accomplished overnight, and nobody has all the answers. But instead, what we do is by bringing everybody together under what I call a bigger tent created by Act 67 that expanded this council from a handful to multiple handfuls, well over 30. We'll find the answer between working collaboratively with our group and with employers who are part of this as well, large and small. We'll work collaboratively together to develop that unified state plan, seek input from various groups, including y'all's, and it will form the blueprint for workforce development efforts going forward. So this is a unique venue for me to be presenting from here live from a job event connecting job seekers to employers that's featuring nonprofits. I'm doing so from an area that does have connectivity issues, but we've overcome those through this Duke coach. And I'm talking to folks, good folks like you all that do this every day on behalf of your agency. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to turn it back over to our host, unless there are questions of me, and I welcome any questions.
William, thank you so much. We are really thankful to have you here today and to have Charles now join us and give us kind of a deeper dive into everything that you all are doing. Thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to hearing more from you, and have a safe trip to Manning this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to introduce Charles. If you want to try to pull up your presentation, Charles Appleby, who is the Senior Advisor to the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development. Welcome, Charles. He's going to give us an overview of everything that he's doing over there at DO.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. As you can see, everyone who's working on these efforts like yourself is always on the go, like Director Floyd, who's in that career coach that really goes around the state. But I'm excited to tell you about some projects that are going on, about some momentum that's getting going forward. And it's not just about boring legal and statutes. So to kind of start us off, go through 4 items with us today, starting with some context and background, how we got to where we are today, what Act 67, which Director Floyd mentioned, it was passed in May. So what did it change? What did it require? Then get to the part that you really want to know. How can you participate? What new information may be coming? So in terms of context and background, I wanted to kind of start with who I am. So I have the privilege to be here with you and to work with all of the other agencies that I mentioned a little later on the slides, but I also relate a lot with you. I am like, to begin with, just a volunteer. Walk a mile in our shoes. I've done it in numerous years. I have so much respect for women who walk in heels now. I have no clue how you do it. It is absolutely amazing. But these are causes that are near to me. I saw Todd on the call and was lucky enough when I was a board member for the Columbia Museum of Art Contemporaries when he was staff over there. So have been actively involved with that, and also an event planner with the community organizations that we brought together for Famously Hot New Year in Columbia. So what y'all do day in and day out is amazing, and I'm so thankful for you and for what you do because it is so important to society as a whole. So getting a little bit toward what was happening prior to passage of Act 67. So we had this horrible pandemic in COVID that caused a lot of mass resignations. And then we had baby boomers who were getting close to retirement anyway. And we're like, you know what? Already been out because of COVID. There's a lot of other stuff going on. I think I may just retire a little early. And at the same time, we had new technologies coming out, artificial intelligence, with this big push with electric vehicles. And then we also have some of the best economic development years the state's ever seen. And this is great news for the state, except when you compare it to the mass resignations and everyone approaching retirement. Because what we need to assure when we have this economic development, when we have these businesses coming back from COVID, is that we need to ensure we have enough workers to fill these positions. More importantly, we need to make sure that those workers have the skills that are needed now, and as those the skills continue to evolve in what's needed by the businesses. Additionally, we have a lot of publicly funded entities that are trying to address these issues, but are we doing it in a coordinated fashion? Are we working together so that we can be working smarter, not harder? And is there a lead agency that's taking accountability and responsibility for these workforce efforts? So understanding the kind of the issues that were there, understanding, hey, what we need to ensure going forward. Speaker Smith said when he became speaker, you know what, I'm going to make this economic development and workforce development my top priority. This is going to be number one on my plate. And immediately put together a House panel, an ad hoc committee. They met for several months and have continued to meet since that time. But they came out with their first recommended legislation, and that was Act 67, the Statewide Education and Workforce Act. They recommended it at the end of last year. It got filed in January of this year, and then the governor signed it into law in May. So this priority on making sure that we're addressing these issues to continue to move forward was something the General Assembly, both the House and the Senate, as well as the governor's office, were all behind. So what does it change? Why do we need this act? What came about with it? So first, it expands the reach of the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development. There was originally 17 entities on it. What they learned as part of the multi-month process was there are a lot of other entities that have workforce efforts, and workforce isn't just limited to workforce agencies or others that have workforce programs. Workforce is really education as well. I mean, the labor force is continually getting skills and then getting people into jobs and then continuing to get more skills. So they added additional members to ensure that they had more people at the table with that could help in making decisions and collaborating together. Well, when you expand the a council from 17 to 37 members, it makes it, sometimes you worry, hey, are we gonna be able to continue moving forward? Is this too big? Is this too cumbersome? So they also added an executive committee to make the decisions and ensure it kept moving forward. They want everybody at the table. They want everybody's collaboration, but then they also wanted a smaller group to be able to say, hey, we're gonna make a decision and we're gonna keep moving forward as a group. So they created an executive committee. Additionally, like I said, they wanted to assure that there was an agency that was kind of in charge of workforce, that had that accountability, that had that responsibility. So they made the chair of the coordinating council the director of Department of Employment and Workforce. What this really did, and this was something that was agreed on by the director of DO as well as the secretary of commerce, is it kind of helped provide some lanes. So the commerce, now commerce is the lead recruiting agency because they're still over the economic development council. But DO now is the workforce agency. They're the one taking the lead on that. PRT has always been a big one in marketing the state. So it kind of helped define some roles and make those lanes clearer. Additionally, and Director Floyd mentioned it, they added an Office of Statewide Workforce Development. This is a position that the governor is going to be appointing with the advice and consent of the Senate, and someone to help ensure that everything in Act 67 is going to be implemented properly. During this interim time, Director Floyd and the other CCW&E members said, hey, we still got to get this ball rolling. So we've continued to move things forward while we're waiting for the governor to make that appointment and for that person to join the team as well. Lastly, the act included about 25 different projects on which the General Assembly, the governor's office felt these will help move us forward in our education and workforce efforts. I'm going to touch on those in just a second, but before I do, I mentioned previously that we had originally 17 members. They're now 37. So the slide you see on the screen are all the different members of the coordinating council. It really works well though, because if you look starting on the left-hand column, you see the education entities. So we now have everything from First Steps, which is kindergarten and below, all the way through representatives from the research universities, someone from both the Senate and the House Education Committee, as well as the Education Oversight Committee. So we really do have everything from the beginning of education through the highest level of education that you can obtain. The middle column is where they add a lot of entities that have different workforce programs. Additionally, there's a federal act that requires a state workforce development board and those at the local level. So we made sure to include those. Manufacturing Extension Partnership, Research Authority, all the way down to Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Revenue, and LLR, who does licensing for different occupations. Then what you see on the far right column is ensuring that we have individuals who are out in the business community, who are out in doing economic development that will be represented on there as well. So you kind of try to have all three legs here. And then the top level is the executive committee that they created. And again, that includes from education to commerce to some of those appointees within the Director of Employment and Workforce, serving as the executive director and serving as the chair for the council. So these are all the members that are part of the council. This is the all-star team that Director Floyd was mentioning, that I have the privilege of working with staff members from all of these different entities. And additionally, one of the great parts that the General Assembly put in the act, which you see in the bottom right, is the opportunity for the council to select additional agencies that may need to be involved for a longer period of time, for a shorter period of time. The General Assembly understood that they may not have thought of everyone and that things may change in terms of who's responsible for different programs or where programs come in. And so they provided that flexibility so the council could bring in additional people as needed to bring everyone to the table with those discussions. So this is the council, and what we're going to talk about next is what are those projects. Because I mentioned there are 25 different projects in the act. The first one, which Director Floyd mentioned, is this unified state plan. And I'm going to talk about that a little more detail on some of the following slides. But that's one of the first aspects that the coordinating council really wanted to work on. Additionally, there's an inventory of programs that the General Assembly wants to put together. They're know, all right, so what are all the education workforce programs that we have across all of these different agencies, all of these different entities? They want to ensure there's regular communication with all the industries, as well as the veterans, had some reporting. Also wanted to have labor market information, and occupational codes and wage and hour information is a requirement that's coming up that I'll talk about as well. But I think it's going to really provide some great new information available to everyone. Also, there's an education workforce online portal requirement. This is going to be a multi-year project. It's going to have all those sub bullets you see under there as sub projects to it, but it's really going to be the front door for the education and workforce information and services for the state. It's going to have career pathways tools so individuals can and job seekers can figure out, hey, what path may be best for me, and additionally, how much is it going to cost for me to get the degrees I need? What's the potential pay that I could earn with it? And then there's going to be an education alignment toolkit. This is something where it's really been important in going for educators to understand the skills that the business need. They want to ensure that they're providing a very well qualified individual once they graduate from whatever schooling it is, and this is going to be provide an opportunity for those businesses to communicate back with them on that aspect. There's going to be some other parts of it, supply gap analysis annually, and some other aspects like a benefits calculator to help with those who may be facing that benefits cliff. Also, we're going to have some studies regarding government assistance, childcare, transportation, and then doing a return on investment as well. So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the unified state plan, because the questions are, all right, what is this plan going to do? And at its core, it is providing a system-wide approach. So we've often been in different silos about what's going on, but this really wants to provide approach as an entire education workforce system. So again, not just the workforce, but the whole education and workforce. And it's not just to bring everybody together to say, hey, this is what you need to do. It's to streamline it and unify our efforts to help us, and you'll hear me say this often, work smarter, not harder. So with this plan, everybody goes, all right, so the state's going to create this plan and they're going to just tell all of us what we need to do. And is that what this is all about? And that's not the case, because at the end of the day, we know the state telling individual entities, telling individual localities what to do, that doesn't work. The point of this is to bring everyone together. So there are a lot of other existing plans out there. I'm sure some of your nonprofits have strategic plans. You may be part of regional or county level efforts for plans that y'all have to help workforce and education. You may even be part of some of the federally required plans, such as WEO or Perkins. And the Unified Plan is not intended to replace any of these. These are all very strong legs by themselves. What the Unified Plan's goal is to provide the seat to that three-legged stool, to provide those overarching aspects so that the different entities with the other plans can see that they're actually going after some common goals and help everyone have actually new opportunities to address the same needs that they want to address. So it's, again, bring everyone together, providing that seat to the already strong legs that we have in existing plans and efforts at the individual and local levels. So these next two slides are an example of what we currently have and what we're trying to go to. This is what you'll see on the left are different outcomes agency services are striving for, whether it's a high school diploma, an associate, a bachelor's degree, providing childcare, growing its existing businesses. And that's on the far left. And then through each column, you see different agencies and the programs that they provide. And what you're seeing is there's some overlap and it looks really complicated. And oftentimes this is what the business or the individual who's needing service sees, because they get passed from one entity to the other and they're not really sure how to figure it out, and it's really complicated. And what we want to change that to is this. We want the seamless user experience for the individual as well as the business to go, all right, this is what I need, this is how I get there, and not having to see the back of house, not having to see the complicated nature. We want them to have the seamless experience so that they can, what we have to call the Amazon experience, where you order something, you used to have to go to Walmart or Target website or different websites, and now a lot of us are like, well, I can just get that off of Amazon that has all of them included. And when I order it, I know it's going to be here in 3 days and I can check on the status of it. You don't want to know that the package had to have a new driver or take a new route or actually got caught up here. You don't want to know that. You just want to order it and get it. And that's what we want to be able to provide for the consumers, so the individuals as well as the business, with our education and our workforce opportunities. So this plan, structure at a high level, vision and mission, all the way down to tactics at the state as well as regional level, and the goals and the strategies really being the outcomes that we're working toward. And each of these I'm going to go through in some more detail on some of the next slides. But again, we have these requirements in the act. We have these bigger group under the tent to bring together, and people go, well, this sounds great, but have you actually started doing anything yet? And this is where I am really proud to say. So act passed in May. As of July, we started working on it heavily and have been ever since then, with a tremendous amount of hours put in by staff from numerous different state agency organizations, as well as different industry association staff. And at the end of this call, if there are any of y'all that would like to be added onto that, we're happy to do it, because we want to ensure that we're getting information out to the industries, getting information out to those who need it, as well as getting their feedback. So we have worked hard on getting where it is, but this is still at the draft phase. So how can you participate in this? We want your participation. We want your feedback on the draft plan. Afterward, we're going to send out a survey. Additionally, if there are activities of yours that relate to parts of the plan and you want us to know about them so that we can show you where it may fit with other things going on, we'd love to know about it. That way, again, we can kind of pull all of those different programs together into a central place so that everyone can see it. And so you can see how you're working on similar things as others, and you may identify others that you could partner with. But to know whether your activities relate to the plan, to know what kind of feedback, you kind of have to know the plan in the first place. So what is the plan at this stage? Our vision and mission is something that was set up very well by the General Assembly, kind of in statute, but it's to achieve and sustain South Carolina's workforce. It's important that we put it sustain in there, because we can get to a point where the workforce and the business needs are matching up great, but then something else is going to happen, and we're going to need to pivot and continue to make efforts to sustain that level. So we want to not only achieve it once, but we want to continue to sustain it year in and year out. And how are we going to do that? Through collaborating and coordinating. We're going to align this entire system so that it's readily accessible to anyone, it's highly effective, and it's easily understandable. It's not complicated, but it's easily understandable. To figure out from that vision mission, where are we going to go with goals and strategies? We actually asked back in March 2022, and then again now when Commerce was under oversight, and then now since the Act's been passage, all the agencies that were participating said, what items do you believe should be priorities in this unified state plan? And we pulled all that information together and saw that we were actually able to group it into what you see on the screen, which were 3 topics of awareness, skills, and obstacles. We included a 4th topic, just say, hey, if something else comes up while we're getting feedback, while we're going through this process, we have the ability to add that in as well. But our main 3 ones right now really are awareness, skills, and obstacles. And what are those goals related to them? So with awareness, we want to ensure that we have coordinated communication and integrate it on the back end so that the decisions of stakeholders, they have all the knowledge that they need that is critical to making those decisions. As for skills, we want to ensure a resilient pipeline by providing skills from, again, the very beginning in kindergarten all the way through work and afterwards. The goal here is that education is a continuous process. It's not a race that you get to the finish line on when you get out of high school or when you get another degree. It's one that as society continues to evolve, we will continue to need to gain skills. But that's what's going to make us resilient when good times and bad, is to continue to have those skills. And then lastly, with obstacles, we want to improve the infrastructure for individuals to be able to overcome any of those obstacles that may be in the way of them obtaining education or being able to get into the workforce and succeed in the workforce as they want. So with each of these goals, we've then broke it down to strategy focuses and individual strategies. When talking about awareness, it's again increasing that knowledge that stakeholders need. We talked about it from the front end, which is coordinated communication, and then from the back end, system integration. So a lot of times you can have a lot of different messages out there, but if you have everyone saying the same 3 messages, you get a lot more penetration. And that's what we really want to do, is to have some coordinated communication and how we get information out about the jobs that are possible, as well as the different pathways to get to those jobs. It's not always one single pathway to get to a job. There are multiple different ways to get there, and we want individuals to be aware of that. We wanted the students and their guardians to be aware of it. Individuals not in the labor force, or those who are underemployed because either they aren't able to communicate their skills well, or others aren't able to understand them well. We want to ensure all those in the schools who are with the students, who are with the guardians, are aware of this information so that they can talk back and forth with them. And then on the other side, we want to ensure that employers understood the services available to them in the pipeline as well. An employer comes in and goes, hey, I can't find a workforce. We want to make it easy for them to know, all right, if I go here, I can figure out which services are available so that I can get the workforce I need, or if I can upskill the individuals that are already working with me. So that's all in the communication on the front end to people. And then the other part was the system integration on the back end. Again, we don't want it to be convoluted for people to get information. So our strategies were to reduce the number of times people have to enter the same information. We often know if you have to fill out forms over and over again, it becomes a deterrent to seeking those services and to fulfilling them. So we want to decrease that. We also want to decrease it from the business side. We want businesses to be able to make a contact, get their issue resolved, and not have to make multiple different contacts to get those issues. But to do that is going to take system integration on our side and ensuring that we're talking with each other. And I say we, all of us who are providing services at the state agency level, all communicating with all of y'all who are providing them out in the community, to really get that flow of information going well between us so that we can better serve our customers. As for skills, again, this is increasing skills throughout individuals' lives. Our strategy focuses were high impact practices and high value credentials. And by high impact practices, we're talking about job shadowing, apprenticeships, mentoring, those things that allow someone to really understand what a job and a career is, as well as understand the type of what's going to be needed from them when they go into it. That way, when someone actually goes into a job, they go, hey, I know what to expect, and I've been able to gain the skills so that employer really wants me because they know I've been in it. And we want to increase that participation. Again, K-20 students, adults re-entering the workforce. And the adults re-entering the workforce is everyone from offenders who are coming back in to society to individuals who just decided to take off a couple years from work and have decided, you know what, it's time for me to go back, or I want to go back. As well as increasing the opportunities that are available from different businesses. We want to be able to work with the businesses so that we can say, hey, if you offer these opportunities, we'll put individuals in there to help match you up so that in the long run, you get the best employees there for you, and the employer, individual ends up working at a place that works out best for them. As for high value credentials, this is one of the Act 67 specifically requires having a target for this, for individuals holding this. So we made sure to include this in the strategies. We also had a strategy right now of ensuring that when you obtain a credential, it's not something you just kind of sit on. It's something that after you obtain it, we want that within 6 months you to be either obtaining additional education, so building on that foundation, employed at work, enlisted in the military, or participating in a year of service that can help not only your community, but build your soft skills that are needed out in the workforce as well. Lastly, wanted to ensure that there was time necessary for those skills, because again, society is continuing evolving, technology is getting faster and faster, and our school systems are great at providing education, but it takes some time for them to ramp up occasionally, and we want to be able to ensure that we can get certificate and other providers into the system as early as possible to bridge that gap. And we want to be doing as fast as other Southeastern states are faster so that the individuals in South Carolina continue to gain the skills that they need as soon as they need them. Lastly, when it comes to obstacles, we want individuals to be able to overcome those obstacles to them continuing to learn and to work. So our strategy focuses here are childcare and housing and transportation. With childcare, we want to decrease the number of individuals that believe childcare is a barrier. This will involve increasing the number of childcare resources available, as well as increasing awareness about the childcare resources available, because some individuals may go, hey, it's a barrier because they just don't know about the other resources that are available. So we want to help them know about the resources available, and then we want to help increase the number of resources that are available for those who need it. As for housing and transportation, a a lot of times housing and transportation for projects in the past hasn't always been thought about as part of the economic development project. The economic development has been the infrastructure of we need this building, we need the sewers to go to this building. And what we've learned in recent years is that because there's not ample workforce everywhere, we need to make it easy for that workforce to come in as well. So we want to increase the number of economic development projects that receive tax credits that on the front end include plans for how to address housing and public transportation. We want that to be, to the extent possible, a holistic plan. Additionally, we want to increase the number of transit options for individuals so that they can get to work and get to education. So that kind of takes us through our vision, mission, the unified state plan down to our strategy level. And what the last part is, and this is what we're going to be working on for the next 5 weeks, is the tactics. This is what programs are out there to help us achieve those strategies. These are those that are required in law. These are the ones that we're already working on. And this is where we really, again, want to know from y'all if you want to provide what activities of yours or research or anything of that nature can help achieve aspects of this state plan. I'm going to include some additional information. This is Robert Davis's email address. You can email him. You can email me. I'll provide this all at the end as well. But I wanted to pause and take a moment to say, think about what I just went through, and we'll send these slides out and go, hey, are there any programs of ours that may relate to this, that may help to this? Because the more we know about it, the more we can partner different people together. And so what are those tactics like I was talking about? These are these actions that are going to help us achieve that specific end. And what we're going to send out is an Excel chart. Again, you don't have to complete it at all, but we wanted to provide this option because this unified state plan isn't something that we want to come from just do. It's not something that we want to come from just the state level. It's something that we want to make the plan for the state. And to do that, we need to include the feedback of all those who are working so hard, like yourselves, to help the state improve it in terms of education and workforce. So to the extent you're willing to provide us information, that'll be great. This is kind of an example of some of the information we've been collecting from the from different agencies, and it's basically lining up, hey, what program do we have, and then what potential strategies it fit with. We've told others as well, hey, you may know, hey, it fits with skills or awareness, but I'm not really sure what strategy focus. That's fine. You can put I'm not sure in there. But again, it just kind of allows us to have the information about what everybody's doing, kind of putting together, and then make that available to everyone so they know who to reach out to possibly partner together. So one of the last things I want to touch on is what new information may be coming. I mentioned at the beginning about the occupational codes. So Act 67 is one of its requirements, said that all employers are going to be reporting the standard occupational classification codes and the total number of hours worked. Additionally, for those with 10 or more, it's going to be filed electronically. Thankfully, this isn't going to occur until March of next year, and there's a hardship for electronic filing. But what is going on right now is we're starting to really ramp up with trying to reach out to different groups to provide information on how to provide those codes so that everyone understands, okay, this is how I do it. And it's probably going to be a little bit of a lift at the beginning just to get all your initial employees in. But then after that, it should be pretty seamless. But we're going to provide lots of training for it, lots of questions. There's going to be help desk when submitting quarterly reports. And the reason this work is going to go in is because it is going to be so extremely helpful to us as a state in a whole. Currently, right now, individuals in education, they may be pursuing in high school on their individual graduation plan going, hey, I want to go be a doctor, I want to be an accountant, or I want to go in IT, and they have certain paths, or they may be obtaining credentials after that and getting into it. And what we know right now is what industry they go into after that. So we know that there are 100 people working at a hospital. What the standard occupation codes are going to let us know is those people at that hospital, are they working as a nurse, a doctor, in HR, in IT? And what that's really going to help us do is go, all right, was the investment in this program or training, did it result in what the person desired and what was desired, and going, hey, I wanted to be a doctor and I took this training, did I become a doctor? Now, we know there are a lot of other factors that come into play as to what someone ends up working in, but this information will make it a lot easier to know where our investments from the state level, from local level, are really providing that return and generating the skills that individuals need to go into the professions they want, as well as ensuring that we're producing individuals with the skills that are needed by those businesses. And the more that we can really leverage this information and increase the effective training, the better our economy as a whole is going to work for everyone. So kind of as a almost last summary is how is this going to help? And it's going to increase the awareness. We're going to increase the awareness of the jobs available, the services available. We're looking to improve the skills of everyone in the state, and we're looking to help them overcome the obstacles that they may face. So how can you get involved? Respond to the email that we're going to send after this, and I'll provide that to Alana so that she can send to y'all to give us feedback on this plan. Is there anything major that you see in here that we're missing that you think should be in here? And then if you're willing, tell us activities that you have that may relate to the plan. Also, if there are other groups that you go, hey, this would be really good information from there for them to have as well, let us know. We're happy to make a similar presentation to them. If this occupational codes aspect has got your head scratching on, I'm not really sure, or I have clients that aren't really sure about this, you can request a demonstration from us. Again, we're going to walk through how to do it with everyone. If there's maybe some employment and workforce data that you want going, hey, I don't know how this is working. Our labor market information division is absolutely amazing. There are things that I didn't think were possible to come up with that I go, hey, any chance you could, is this even possible to find out? That they return to me in like 30 minutes. So anytime you need employment and workforce data, that's available. And then if you want to get involved, if you're not already, in assisting educators in understanding the certificates, the certifications, the skills that are needed in your industry or that are needed in the industry of those that you're helping, you can reach out to the Department of Education, and they will get you connected with one of the advisory committees in a heartbeat, because that's what really makes the education work, is understanding from both sides what is needed, because our educators are amazing in providing information and teaching individuals, but they also need to rely on information on the other side and going what's needed in these different areas. So this pretty much concludes my presentation, but I truly want to thank all of you for participating today. I want to thank Alana and Together SC for everything they do in bringing all of y'all together and continuing to promote the nonprofit efforts throughout our state. It's a true privilege to have the opportunity to talk with you, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Charles. That was a great overview. Gives us a really good idea of all the work that you're doing. We do have a couple questions already in the chat. And I have, just want to make sure, are we going to be able to send this presentation out to everyone after? Okay, so everyone that's here, I will make sure to follow up with the presentation and the links and the work plan that Charles was talking about. But I know we had a question about could the nonprofit sector be represented on the coordinating committee? And I know you kind of talked a little bit about that, but is that a possibility that we could look at?
Yeah, 100%. So it's something, again, so the coordinating council, since just expanded, was they just had their first meeting. So they're still trying to get that going. And in the meantime, while they're looking at whether additional people are to add, we can add y'all to the industry association list, and we provide them with updates just like we do the coordinating council board, and that's a great opportunity. We also provide literally right the day after a coordinating council meeting. So coordinating council meetings are open, so you can always attend those. Additionally, the day after the meeting, we provide industry association calls. So if there's any feedback, questions from anyone, since there's not quite as much time during the meetings, we provide that the day after, so there's plenty of time for anyone who has any questions, feedback, suggestions. So again, we'd love any involvement that you're willing to provide.
Fantastic. So if y'all have questions, go put them in the chat, or if you just want to come off mute and say them, you're welcome to do that too. I know we had another one from GP McLear. Do you think a strategic program that targets state resources into community nonprofits operating in areas, geographic and programmatic, what was it? I can't see that. Where workforce participation is a priority could be considered?
Yeah, that is one of those areas where, and this is where the fun part I really think is in tactics. And that's one of those things where we're, like I said, gathering information on the tactics that are currently available, and then seeing where the gaps are. And that may be a big gap that we notice in there. And so that's something to definitely consider. And tactics are where we're really excited about being able to go, all right, what are we doing? And then monitoring that. So this unified plan is going to get updated every year. We'll look at any revisions that are needed in May of June of this coming year, which will be because we're looking to kind of finalize it by December, and then we'll look at May, June again. And it's kind of a short time frame that first year, but then afterwards it'll be May, June every year thereafter, because a lot of state agencies do their planning in July, so we want them to have that available. But tactics are really where we can go, hey, let's try this, or let's see what's working, not working, and whatever's not working isn't a failure. It's great information for us to go, hey, that's not working, let's try something else. And so this may be one that, if it's not already in one of the tactics that we're using from one of the other agencies, may be a great one to say, hey, let's throw this in here, see if this works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we learn that it didn't, and we'll move on to the next one. But that's what we're really a lot about right now, is going, let's test the outcomes from our programs, and understanding it's an experiment. It's not a, hey, success or failure. It's just an experiment. It works or it doesn't, and we learn that it didn't, and we'll move on to the next thing. But that's a great idea.
All right, anyone else want to jump in with any questions? I find it interesting because I was talking to the Vanell Foundation yesterday, and they were telling me about their Pathways to Possibilities program, where they have 8,000 eighth graders come in and learn about the 19 different career pathways. So I think it's things like that, and how they were saying, oh, we'd love to expand that throughout the whole state and have that program. And I'm thinking, this kind of is in line. So nonprofits are doing so much of this work already. So I think it's important for us to help you put that list together of what's going on, what we're doing, how we're doing it, so that unified plan can come together. But yeah.
We'd be so appreciative of that, because a lot of times there are people doing great programs that others just don't know about.
Right.
And the more that we can bring awareness to the different programs out there, the greater it can be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Are we seeing any more questions? Well, we're not seeing any more questions in the chat. Everyone's being shy today, but well, thank you, Charles. Thank you so much for this information and for spending some time with us this morning and going over, or this afternoon, and going over the overview of everything. It's, I think that we just want to be at the table and make sure that the nonprofit sectors and our work is being considered and heard. So we got to just make sure to keep this relationship together as we move forward. So everyone, look for the follow-up emails from us, and make sure you're giving the feedback and participating, because that's the only way that we will be able to make sure our voices are heard and we're part of this effort.
Again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for everything y'all do.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, and we look forward to working more with you. All right, bye everyone.